y'all? It's Randy, the MGC, and today we are going to tackle respect. So this is another word or another tool. I use those kind of interchangeably from my 20 character word list or 20 character tool list. So respect. Respect is all about boundaries, right? In order for someone to have respect for you and you to have respect for someone else, there must be an understandable exchange, right? A contractual agreement. And within that contractual agreement, there has to be defined terms, right? So, respect. We got the external, right? But of course, we're going to link it back to the internal. So, when we link it to the internal, it takes, we call it self-respect. So, in order for a person to establish self-respect and respect themselves, they have to be able to define who, what, where, when, how, why they are what they are. I'll give questions and examples of how someone may answer, and we'll start with the who. So who are you? Well, you might identify yourself by saying, your name, like I'm Randy, or, I'm a junior or whatever. Or you might say, I'm Randy and Crew LLC or whatever. You might identify yourself, as a business or part of a corporation, or maybe black, or I'm Mexican, or I'm Muslim, or I'm a Christian. So the who would, pertain to identity and, grouping of oneself. What are you? I'm big, or I'm small, I'm short, or I'm tall, I'm skinny. I'm smart, I'm sensitive. I'm a musician, I'm a swimmer, I'm a mother, I'm a father, Or you might say your job function, or your career, your career, whatever you identify your career as. And those, the what would attribute or would be, give context to like physical attributes or things you actively do. Where are you? You might say I'm in the U.S., I'm in Texas, or I'm in Boston, New York, or you might say I'm currently inside my head, I'm vibrating high or I'm vibrating low, I'm advanced, so the where would be, attributed to location, or advancement. When are you? You might say, I'm in my 30s, I'm 33 years old, or I'm 58, or I'm 10, or whatever. I'm a teen, I'm an elder, I'm a baby boomer, I'm a star child, I'm too old, or I'm too young. So of course the when would be context to time. How are you? I'm doing great. I'm terrible. Doing terrible right now. I'm focused. I'm determined. I'm behind. I'm ahead. I'm feeling empowered. So, the how would be like the making of, or experience, the compiling of your experiences. Why are you what you are? Or why are you who you are? Well, it's because of where I'm headed, my goals, or it's because of where I come from, because of my trauma, it's because of my father's goals, my family structure. It's because of the results I think I will receive, from this experience. So the why would, give context to purpose or reason. So these are just examples and, just slivers of who and what you are. But each and every example I gave adds definition to self. So the more specific you can get, the better, so that you can know your role and stand on your square. The more you define yourself, the more you become aware of your surroundings, because you know where you end and where somebody else begins. That's important. What do I mean by that? So I'm talking about boundaries. Self-respect is all about boundaries, right? When you can understand, or when you have an understanding of, what is yours, what is not, what is someone else's, when you have a understanding of who you are and who you are not, and who someone else is, it gives you an ability to contract, and get a favorable result from that, and negotiate a proper contract, I'll say. Because we don't want to set terms that are unreasonable, right? And we definitely don't want to be negotiating with someone who is unreasonable, So it's a defense tactic, It's defense. Defense. Boundaries. So let's say, let me give you another example. You have a property or you have a house that you own, right? Let's say it has no fences. You have a yard. You have a neighbor and they have no fence, right? So it's almost as if y'all share a yard, right? And you want to plant a tree or, plant a garden, right? And you may want to plant, something that maybe the neighbor hates or, doesn't want to look at or doesn't want to smell or whatever. For whatever reason that they may have, they don't want it in their, backyard or front yard. We'll say backyard. They don't want it in their backyard, So when you chart out exactly what is yours, then you'll be able to maintain that respect for the other person, that compassion and understanding of like, all right, I get the fact that they don't want, this big old tree in their yard, so I'm going to, plant it right here, where to make sure that, I'm within the realms of my territory, because I could do whatever I want with mine, my territory, with my house, my possession, with my being, right? Do whatever I please, right? As long as it's not hurting anyone else, But that would be an example. Like, obviously, if you plant something and it's on their territory, they have the right to tell you, hey, move that, or hey, I don't want that there, stop what you're doing, or move it and put it somewhere else, because you're invading, on my privacy, my private property. Understand? So, that concept, is very important for us to understand, because every time we walk out the door and we converse with others, we're contracting. It could just be small talk. You're still contracting. There's a give and there's a receive on both ends. Unless you speak and the other person doesn't speak, then they're like rejecting your contract. But every interaction is a contract. So you want to maintain your own, respect by being defined, right? So with that same example that I gave about the neighbor, and planting a tree or plant whatever, or garden, if you put up a fence to taper off, your private property, now it becomes clear, right? There's no misunderstanding. There's no, on either side, there's no misunderstanding. It's clear. It's like, okay, no, that's clearly his, and this is clearly mine, and persons are a lot less likely to invade, or you're less likely to invade on their, private possessions, private property, their being, their person. You're less likely to invade, and vice versa, them to invade on you, if those boundaries are clearly set. It has to be clear, So obviously you have a fence around your property, right? That's one line of defense, right? So it's like, okay, if you enter this gate, then you know that you are, within my territory and my rules and my regulations, so, that's the terms of, entering my property, and you may have some signs. That might be a warning, beware of dog, or, that's a, that's a preset, a pre-warning, to say, hey, I have more than one defense mechanism, for you entering without permission, right? So if a person invades on that, they're clearly being, it makes it, much more clear to you to have that discernment of like, okay, this person is trying to provoke me, they're trying me, obviously front door would be another example of a second line of defense. So now if they enter that door, now it's like, okay, not only did they go through the front door, go through my gate, but they're also trying to get through my front door, Now we're really, it's really clear that this person doesn't care nothing about, respecting my boundaries and respecting, my being, or the things that are precious or, of value to me. And if they don't care about, your property, your belongings, your privacy, Those are just extensions of you. It's a part of you. So, at that point, all you have at that point is just the last line of defense, before, they in essence can, do what they will. And that's a physical fight. If somebody walked through your front door, that might be a shootout, that might be throwing hands, whatever the case may be. But we want to make certain that we have, those first two lines of offense, those first two lines of, of defense. We want to make sure that they're shored up. Make sure that they are, reinforced, so that we're not, passive aggressively getting into conflict. But let's say I have no gate or fence. I have no warning signs, right? I have no, let's say I have a front door, but it's always wide open, right? So you're like, oh, I'm an open book. I don't have anything to hide. Okay. So when a person walks onto your property, they're not looking at it as like, oh, I'm being disrespectful. They're looking at it as, oh, well, this person doesn't care. And when you have the door wide open, of course, in a real life, nobody should just walk through an open front door, obviously, right? But let's say figuratively, a lot of people, they have their front doors open, They haven't established any defense mechanisms, no warnings, and we call those passive-aggressive persons, right? So, person comes in, they do these certain things, and there was no warnings, and then all of a sudden it's like, what are you doing? Why don't you care about my feelings? Why, it's a blow up, it's an explosion, because that person panics and, you know what I mean? Or they get to a point to where they're fed up, or, they get to a point to where they feel like they're being bullied. And now they're like, okay, I have to, my back is against the wall now. I have to say something, but it comes out wrong, and it comes out as an explosion, and it comes out as offensive, so when you don't have those boundaries, you will more than likely, behave in a passive aggressive manner. Period, point blank. More than likely. It's a solid chance that you will behave in a more passive aggressive manner. Right? And passive aggressiveness damages relationships. It damages relationships. So, what can you do about it? Well, it's pretty simple, right? Establish some boundaries. Define who you are, what you are. The more things that you can find out about yourself, sit down with yourself, date yourself, go to the movies, go and, shoot around some basketball, go and run around, go run a lap, go sit and meditate and think about what you've been doing and, what your goals are, where you're headed. The more questions that you can answer, the more, it's like equipping yourself with the fence, because now you can know when someone is, disrespecting you, because you're like, I'm not that, that's not what I am. Let me tell you what I am. And just like that, no soliciting sign, or the beware of dog warning, as well as your front gate. You should also have a soft warning, as to say, I value myself. And this is a way of gently telling someone, bag back. Then if they continue, now okay, they're passing through my warnings and they don't intend to respect, what I truly am. So you know where to place them. You can put them out at that point, or you can keep them, at arm's length. Whatever the case may be. However severe it is, you deal with it accordingly. Based on your protocols. Me, I like to give three warnings, or it's like a 3-step process. I got this from, I call him Baba Haru, but some of y'all might know him as, Chief Yuya. I like this 3, it's 3 levels, real simple. First there's a check, like a soft check, and that's a warning, right? Say, I didn't like this, I'd rather you, treat me like this, If they don't respect that and they persist, and the second warning is a hard check, where I, let them know in a more stern fashion, that there was some disrespect that I don't appreciate, and that, and then I basically give them space, give them some space to think about it and understand that, hey, something I did led to him, not messing with me for a little while, a little bit. So, and then if they still persist, then at that point, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, because you have just utterly, disrespected me, and showed that you don't value this relationship. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I handled that. I handle situations like that with everybody. Like I no matter if it's a friend, family member, my woman, whomever it may be, I handle it the same way, So I force them to respect me, in order for us to continue a relationship. So I'm forcefully saying, hey, if we're gonna be in each other's lives, it's gonna be a more healthier relationship, rather than backbiting, or someone do something you don't like it but you don't say nothing, and it's likely that it's gonna happen again because they may not know, or they may not care, but you don't know whether they don't care or whether they don't know until you actually let them know. Then that's when you can discern whether they care or whether they just are ignorant to your rules and protocol. But you have to give them that benefit of the doubt until it's clear. That's how you value, your relationships. You know what I mean? So one more thing I wanted to bring, well, it's more than one, but I have to talk about manners, right? if we're talking about respect, we have to bring in manners. Have to. It's a must. So let's talk about the 3 C's: consideration, compassion, cooperation. Right? Though these are the 3 C's that all should possess or look to possess. Of course, I'm gonna go in on these in a later video, of course, but I'm gonna just briefly touch on it because they directly deal with having respect for others. Right? So being considerate, usually there are usually it's verbal kindnesses, to show that you do not intend harm to other persons, to other people. Just being considerate. Being compassionate is similar to being considerate, but it's a deeper sincerity though. It's a deeper sincerity. So if you are empathetic, then you will be performing actions, to show that you care about the other person's well-being. Versus consideration is, more of just being kind, right? Just, giving those verbal kindnesses. And compassion is more it's deeper, You be considerate to anybody, any and everybody. You should be considerate, right? Consider is more of, let me go back to that one. Consideration is more of an example of that. It's just saying please, thank you, excuse me, those type of things, right? But compassion is more of showing actions, actually doing things, to show that person you care, and the next will be cooperation. So being cooperative means being agreeable and creating harmony with others. These 3 C's, give you, if you are exercising these 3 C's, it's almost impossible, to be disrespectful to others, right? Because you're operating with a mentality, that is socially pleasing, socially pleasing. So, I have to mention these other these other things because these are key things that a lot of us do subconsciously or consciously. Maybe we care, maybe we don't know, that we're doing them or how it's affecting others, but that are very disrespectful, that we have to X out, we have to stop doing these things. Like talking over people, talking when someone else is talking. You know what I mean? Talking when someone else is talking, cutting them off. That's one of my pet peeves. I let it go, a couple times, and then, after about the second time of it happening, depending on how egregious it is, I have to give a check, and it's usually a soft check, oh, let me finish, just something simple, oh, hold up, let me finish this thought. It doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be aggressive, your response. It doesn't have to be aggressive. Be real simple, like that. Don't cut off others' momentum and movement. Don't cut off others' performance or effort. Don't cut off others' understanding, by withholding pertinent information, or talking nonsense, or rambling, or being disagreeable. refrain from displaying a sarcastic, narcissistic, and or negative attitude, when engaging with others. Keep your bodily appendages and fluids, gases, hairs, all of that nastiness to yourself. So if you got bubble guts, maybe you need to stay at home or excuse yourself. You know what I mean? Another key thing, minding your own business. If you're minding your own business, you won't be snooping and getting all into someone else's actions and things that they're doing or saying. Being nosy. And of course, I already mentioned your please, thank yous, excuse me's, and apologizing when you intrude on somebody's person or belongings, possessions. If you damage or accidentally take, or simple apology can resolve that conflict. So I had to mention these things, as these are like real key things that, of course there's more, but these are real key that people habitually continue to do. I see it all the time. And sometimes it's the nicest person that, will perform some of these disrespectful acts, because they're doing it unconsciously, But if somebody, I figure, hey, if somebody point out all of these key things and make it obvious that, hey, you're being disrespectful, maybe you haven't been taught, that was disrespectful, talking over someone or cutting someone off. Maybe you don't know. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But I really value my relationships, and I advocate, other persons to value their relationships, because together you'd be surprised what we can accomplish. But we have to remain respectful to each other in order to do so. So yeah, that setting up those protocols and setting up those boundaries, identifying who and what you are, answering all those questions, that will make things a lot more clear. And every day, I'm learning something new about myself. So every day I'm building a stronger fence. I'm strengthening my defense, every day, So why should you? I feel like I kind of already answered why you should, because you want to strengthen your relationships. You want to build healthy relationships and maintain, respect for others and for yourself. And this is something that you can do it today. You can sit down with a piece of paper and just start answering, some of the questions that I asked. Just start mapping out exactly how you're going to deal with, conflict going forwards. The best way to resolve conflict is prior to it occurring, if possible. Conflict is going to occur at some point, but you will have a lot less conflicts if you have a measure of self-respect and a respect for others, you know. So everybody should use this, you know. Everybody. This is meant for everybody. Everybody can improve the relationships around them. Everybody. And one thing I kind of noticed too, here in America or in the US, people don't value relationships, you know, hardly. They do value, there's more value, focused on money, right? There's more of a value attributed to money than there is to relationships. And that was something that was really made clear to me when I went to Ghana. You know, out there it's the complete opposite. They value relationships over money. Does that mean that money has no use or no value? No, not saying that. But they do prioritize the relationship and the bond between man and man or man and woman. You know, that bond is much more valuable than, you know, a piece of paper or the currency. You know, the real currency, you know, to them is the relationships, you know. And I take on that same principle, you know, and I value the relationships of the persons around me, you know, and I look to establish new relationships, you know, because you know, there's always persons that can help you and you can help them, you know. You can learn from them, they can learn from you. You know, it's a great exchange, you know. So I enjoy contracting, you know, with persons, but and you know, finding things that we can agree on, you know. It's part of unity, part of uniting, you know. You find those things that you can agree on, you know, and that can be more fulfilling than finding things that you disagree on, you know. Arguing with someone about, you know, what's what, or, you know, arguing about who you are or who they are or what they are or what they, you know, what they deserve or what you deserve. You know, I found that to be, you know, in most cases, you know, less effective, you know, in most cases. Sometimes you just have to fight, you know. Sometimes I'm not above, you know, throwing fists, you know. I'm not above, you know, you know, exchanging words or exchanging blows. I'm not above that, you know, but in most cases it's just not necessary, you know. In most cases it's just not necessary. You know, it's more rewarding, and you get a much better result or a less consequential result, because, you know, we all know that if you going around fighting all the time, you know, there's a lot of things that can happen. Some can happen to you, or you know, some can happen to the other person. It might land you in jail, or, you know, the other person might got a gun, they might got a knife, they might got, you know, you don't know what the other person has, you know. So if you going and, you know, disrespecting people, or, you know, causing conflict, you know, being disagreeable, you know, antagonizing persons, you know, it won't lead to anything positive. You know what I mean? It's not going to lead to your growth. It's going to lead to you, you know, having some type of consequence. You know what I mean? So, you know, establish that respect for yourself, you know, and it's much easier once you establish that respect for yourself, to understand and have some compassion for others and respect, where they're coming from, respect their protocol, their boundaries, because you'd be like, oh, well, yeah, that's the same way I feel. I wouldn't let somebody walk through my front door, so I'm not going to walk through their front door. It's simple logic, But if you're just going about and you haven't gave it any thought, then you're likely going to do some things that, is going to ruffle some feathers, and, it's going to lead to a check. And the checks, usually don't make people feel good. Right? So, this is a key, very, very key to improving your lifestyle. Very, very key. So, keep tuning in. I appreciate you for listening. Thank you for taking your, character development seriously, and vibing and contributing, please like, subscribe, comment, question. If something doesn't make sense, or you need some more clarity or clarification on something that I said, feel free to, leave it below. Humility is the next one. Peace, y'all. Till the next time.